Good morning, everyone. Glad to see you here this morning. Welcome, welcome. It's a beautiful morning here in coastal Virginia, here in Gloucester. Um, I'm happy to see you. I hope you're happy to be here with me. Hope you had a great weekend. We did. It was a wonderful weekend. So, we're going to begin as we do with our breathing exercise. I've been told by a few participants that this part of the morning is very valuable. So we begin with breathe in through the nose, hold, and breathe out through the mouth. And so we begin in through the nose, hold, out through the mouth. Breathe in the love of consciousness, hold it, breathe out fear. Breathe in the love of consciousness, hold, breathe out anxiety. Continue. Breathe in through the nose, hold, breathe out through the mouth. Open your eyes if they were closed. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Good morning, Shireen. Good morning, Mary Lee. It's wonderful to see both of you ladies. Thanks for being here. This morning, I want to talk about the golden key. And first of all, I'd like to say that most of you have probably come to the understanding that Mystic Paul is pretty much a practical person who really puts forward the ideas that apply these principles in one's day-to-day experience, and the results do and will manifest. Arguably, that makes me a pragmatist. I really, really, really experience and have my own understanding of do the work, get the result. Follow the directions, get the result. Last week I was reminded I created quiches last week, which I have never made a quiche before. My wife Debbie is great at making pie crusts, so she made a crust for me, rolled it up on a rolling pin, wrapped in wax paper. We put it in the refrigerator. It sat there for about a week until I got to it. I looked up a recipe for a quiche, a ham and cheese quiche, I got the dough out of the refrigerator. I let it warm up to room temperature. I followed the directions for the quiche recipe to the T, created the quiches, and they were individual quiches, so they were 4 inches. Put them in the oven, following the directions, and 40 minutes later, perfect small 4-inch quiches, ham and cheese, came out of the oven. And they are delicious. And they are perfect quiches in every way. And so the lesson there is get the recipe, follow the directions exactly as they're presented, get the result. And the same is so in spiritual practice. It's not like it's necessary for mystical Paul to make this stuff up. All of the directions, all of the guidelines for success are pre-laid out. They were laid out before Paul was even born. All that's required is Paul access the ones that ring true for him and apply those to his experience in this 3-dimensional plane and allow that to put the ego, the intellect, and the emotions in their correct status and move forward as a spiritual being. And so, having said all that, today I want to talk about the golden key. And people who don't know, if there's anyone there who doesn't know what the golden key is, I expect that Shireen, who's here, and Mary Lee, who's here, both know what the golden key is. But hopefully there are someone out there who is fresh and new, who hasn't heard this before, and will get inspired by it, or possibly it'll just be a reminder for those who have heard of it and help them to return to the application. The golden key was originally presented to us by a man named Emmett Fox. He was a New Thought spiritualist, if you will. I refer to him as a mystic. He helped many, 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 many people from about 1915 to 1950. And so here's what he had to say about the quote unquote golden key. The golden key. Affirmative prayer will enable you, anyone, and me, sooner or later, to get yourself or anyone else out of any difficulty on the face of the earth. It is the golden key to harmony and happiness. To those who have no acquaintance with the mightiest power in existence, this may appear to be a rash claim, but it needs only a fair trial to prove that without a shadow of a doubt, it is a just one. You need to take no one's word for it, and you should not. Simply try it for yourself and see. God is omnipotent, and man is created and or manifest in the image and likeness of God, all there is, and has dominion, man does, has dominion over all things material in the 3-dimensional plane. This is the inspired teaching, and it is intended to be taken literally at its face value. Man means every man. And so the ability to draw on this power is not the special prerogative of mystics or saints. And in this context, written in 1930, man means every human being, male, female, transgender, tall, short, slim, heavy, Caucasian, African American, brown people, yellow people, red people, all people, all people, without any distinction. Mongolian people, Chinese people, Italian people, Australian people, Aboriginal Australians, all, everyone. You need take no one's word for it. Simply try it for yourself. You do not have to be a mystic or a saint, as is often supposed, or even of the highly trained practitioner status. Whoever you are, wherever you may be, the golden key to harmony is in your hand right now. This is because in affirmative prayer, it is all that is God who does the work and not the intellect, the emotions, or the ego. And so, those particular limitations of the intellect, the emotions, and the ego, or weakness, are of no account in the process. You are only the channel through which the divine action of all that is takes place. And your application will really be just the getting of yourself out of the way. Yourself being your intellect, your emotions, and your ego. For all that is absolutely essential, beginners often get startling results at the first time of trying. It is to have an open mind and sufficient faith to try the experiment. Apart from that, you may hold any view on religion or none at all, and it matters not. As for the actual method of working, like all fundamental things, it is simplicity itself. All that is necessary to do is stop thinking about the difficulty, whatever it is, and think about all that is, God instead. This is the complete rule. That's the complete rule. Stop thinking about the difficulty, whatever it is, and think about all that is. Think about God. Think about Goddess. Think about divine understanding. Think about divine love. Think about Great Spirit. Whatever ideas you have, think about that. Do not think about the difficulty. Think about God. This is the complete rule. And if only you will do this, the trouble, whatever it is, will presently disappear. It makes no difference what kind of trouble it is. It may be a big thing or a little thing. It may concern health, finance, a lawsuit, a quarrel, an accident, or anything else conceivable. But whatever it is, just stop thinking about it and think about all that is God, Goddess, Great Spirit, higher power instead. That is all you have to do. The thing could not be simpler, could it? Goddess herself, God himself, can could scarcely have made it simpler, and yet it never fails to work when given a fair trial. Do not try to form a picture of God, which is, of course, impossible. Work by rehearsing anything and everything that you know about God. God is wisdom, truth, inconceivable love. Goddess is present everywhere, has infinite power, knows everything, and so on. It matters not how well you may think you understand these things, simply go over them repeatedly. But you must stop thinking about the trouble, whatever it is. The role is to think about all that is God. And if you are thinking about your difficulty, you are not thinking about God. To be continually glancing over your shoulder, as it were, in order to see how matters are progressing is fatal, because that is thinking of the trouble, and you must think of God and nothing else. Your object is to drive the thoughts of your difficulty right out of your consciousness for a few moments at least, substituting for it the thought of God. This is the crux of the whole thing. If you can become so absorbed in this consideration of the spiritual world that you really forget for even a minute all about the trouble concerning which you began to pray, you will presently find that you are safely and comfortably out of your difficulty, that your demonstration is made. In order to golden key a troublesome person or a difficult situation, think, now I am going to golden key John or Mary or that threatening danger. Then proceed to drive all thought of John or Mary or the danger right out of your mind, replacing it by a thought of God, of Goddess, of all that is. By working in this way about a person, you are now seeking to influence his conduct. And by working this way about a person, you are not seeking to influence his conduct in any way, except that you prevent him or her or she or they from injuring or annoying you, and you do him, her, they, them, that, nothing but good. Therefore, there is certain to be some degree of betterment and wiseness and more spiritual just because you have golden keyed. But by constantly repeating some statement of absolute truth that appeals to you, such as, there is no power greater than God, or I am the child of God and all is well, or I am the presence of God and all is well, or perhaps even the best and simplest of all, just the best and simplest of all, simply, Goddess, be with me. However mechanical or dead it may seem at first, you will soon find that this application has begun to take and that your mind is clearing. Do not struggle violently. Be quiet but insistent. Each time you find your attention wandering, just switch it straight back to I am child of God. All is well. Do not try to think out in advance what the solution of your difficulty will probably turn out to be. This is technically called outlining and will only delay the demonstration. Leave the question of ways and means strictly up to Goddess, strictly up to higher consciousness. You want to get out of your difficulty? That is sufficient. You do your half, and all that is will never fail to do the rest. It says in the Christian Bible, whoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Simply call out. State, I apply the golden key to whatever the difficulty. Life, I would state, I now apply the golden key to this situation. And I would think of God. And in those early days, God showed up for me as pine trees in the wind. That sound that comes from pine trees in the wind. And every time the application works. Every time my intellect, my ego, and my emotions, myself, get out of the way and let divine consciousness be, it works. That's the message for today. If you would like a copy of this little booklet by Emmett Fox, you message me or give me a comment and let me know, and I'll see to it that you get one. I acknowledge you as the presence of God wherever you are. I acknowledge that you, whoever you are, have dominion over this three-dimensional plane. I salute you as the presence of God wherever you are, and all is well. Namaste. Namaste.